Let's look at a map here showing which states could ban abortion now that Roe v. Wade has been struck down. In 13 states, so-called trigger laws were designed to take effect in exactly this case. And then the impact could go even further as other states with conservative legislatures could also try passing partial or full bans on abortion. And you can see all of those outlined in different shades of red there. Of course, one of those in the shade of red is the state of Texas. So joining us is senior reporter Teresa Woodard to help kind of walk us through exactly what this means for us here in Texas. The impact is going to be a big one, Teresa.
Oh, Jason, the impact of this ruling, really the magnitude of this day just cannot be overstated in our state and in our nation. Texas women had grown accustomed to the scaling back of abortion access, but most probably assumed at the end of the day it was a protected legal right at the federal level. It no longer is. And with Roe overruled, the old laws written decades ago outlawing abortions here in Texas are back in place. Abortion can be considered illegal at this moment, but performing one is a misdemeanor. Some prosecutors might choose not to enforce those old laws right now. Soon, though, when those new state laws go into effect, as Jason was talking about, the trigger law, performing an abortion in Texas will become a first-degree felony. State Attorney General Ken Paxton says providers will be criminally prosecuted. A person who performs an abortion faces at least a $100,000 fine, and they will lose their license. So, Jason, this means there could be a district attorney somewhere in Texas filing charges for an abortion that happened after 9:10 this morning at this very moment. Of course, Senate Bill 8, which essentially outlaws abortions at 6 weeks, that does remain in effect, but that is enforceable civilly. We know as of this afternoon, we've had word that Whole Women's Health and Planned Parenthood, some of the large providers of abortion services in the state of Texas, have stopped providing abortions in our state.
Okay, so there is no exception, we know, here in Texas for rape or incest in Texas law, but there is one exception in there, and that is to save a woman's life. So kind of walk us through that if you could.
It does exist in the law, but it's going to be ambiguous, I think is a good way to say it, because it's subjective. It will be up to a provider to decide exactly what it means. Does it mean they can step in if the woman might be having some complications? Does it mean that they only can step in if that woman is moments away from death? So there's going to be big decisions that these providers have to make. And so we don't know exactly what that's going to be.
I was going to say ambiguity could be a very scary thing in a situation like this, because as you mentioned, this would no longer be enforced civilly, as has been the case for almost a year now.
First-degree felony.
Criminal.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where we go from here. I know that a lot of those blanks haven't been filled in yet, but it seems like everybody around the country has been asking that, and of course here in Texas as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some concern over the idea that there were other rights that were mentioned in the Supreme Court opinion by Justice Clarence Thomas, saying these could be at risk as well. The right to gay marriage, the right to contraception, because at the end of the day, what this ruling seems to say is that if it's not in the Constitution, it's not a protected right. And so there's a lot of people who are concerned about that. I had some conversations with some Democrats in the state of Texas today who said, get ready, because there will be additional legislation filed that they believe will attack those rights. We also have had many conversations with Republicans today who seem to be poised, ready to perhaps put action in place that would penalize companies who provide assistance to women to go elsewhere to get an abortion.
Because we've already been seeing some of those big corporations coming out and saying, hey, we will actually help facilitate this because we don't agree with what has happened. Interesting stuff, Teresa. Thank you.